In this video, we're going to learn how to use the sampler to record and edit a sample, how to rename the sample and add it to the library, and how to use it to make loops and effects. Open GarageBand and create a new project. Open the Smart Instrument Chooser and choose the sampler, which is in the keyboard instruments. When the sampler opens, you're going to make sure that it's on New Sample, and then press the big red Start button and speak your chosen quote. The sampler will record it. Look, Daddy, teacher says every time the bell rings, an angel gets its wings. To play it back, you touch the keyboard keys, and you'll hear it being played at different pitches.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time the bell.
Touch the button in the middle of the sampler to change what happens when you move your finger on the keyboard.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time the bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
Trim off any extra empty time at the beginning or end of your sample. Then touch the My Samples button. Here you'll see your sample saved, and you're going to want to rename it. So choose Rename, and on the keyboard, delete the title that was there and type in your new title, and then be sure to touch the blue Done button. Now the sample is saved to your song, but not to your library. You need to touch on Add to Library. And then if you want to keep that same title, just touch Done again. Then you should see it over in the list on the right-hand side of all the samples that are in your library. That means that you can use those samples in any project that you create. Now we're going to go back to that original sample and isolate just one section that you think is interesting. You can use the trim function to cut off the end or the beginning.
Look, Daddy, look, Daddy, look, Daddy, look, Daddy.
And then you can play around with some of the other editing effects, like the looping.
Look, Daddy, look, Daddy, look, Daddy, look, Daddy.
Now you want to save this as a new sample. So we're going to go back to My Samples, and you're going to touch on Rename, get rid of the title that's there, and rename this something else so that you know how it's different. And remember to touch Done. Then you'll need to add that to the library and touch Done again. And then you should see it on the right-hand side, the list of all of the different samples that are in your library. To create another clip from that same sample, remember to go back to the original one. And there are other things you can do to it as well. The shape refers to how loud it gets at what point in the sample. So sometimes you can play with a shape and get a completely different feel to your sample. For the third clip, you're going to isolate yet a different part of the sample.
The bell rings.
Then go back to My Samples, rename, get rid of the original name, and you're going to name this version something unique so that you know which sample it is that you're choosing. Remember to touch the blue Done button. And then you'll want to add it to your library. Remember to touch the blue Done button again to make sure it goes into your library. And then you can always check that list on the right to see that that new sample is in there. It can be kind of fun to create a library of samples to use in a variety of different projects. And you don't have to use all of them that you create either. You can create a palette of them to choose from and only use 2 or 3.